Peace and blessings, you two family. Coming to you once more, another edition from the Doctor's Corner. Hope all is great with each of you. Hopefully, today has been a day of reflection. Hopefully, today has been a day of relaxation for you as you have found a way to begin to work on strategizing for yourself, some space and some time for you to relax, for you to be able to find something that provides back to you, that gives back to you. That is certainly has been a theme this week, as we talked about in terms of the level of care that you need to be able to provide to yourself, right? So that is something I certainly and sincerely hope that each of you have found a way to carve out, whether that's that 5 minutes that we talked about before, that 10 minutes or that 15 minutes, whatever you're able to give to yourself. But, we understand and know that that's a process that, it takes time, right? This is not something that's just going to happen overnight for most of us who've been in these roles for, whether it's weeks, whether it's months, whether it's years, whether it's decades. In fact, the longer you've been in it, the more difficult it becomes to break that habit and carve out some time for yourself. So, certainly hoping that in this week's discussion from the corner that we've discussed and talked about the level of care that you need to be sure that you begin the first level and first stage of that being to yourself. So, as we also, want to focus and talk about the different ways, right, of what we can do in terms of minimizing, releasing some of that stress. As I've shared with you, exercising is something for me that certainly helps me with that. It certainly helps me flush out a lot of those negative toxins and the thoughts and all of that sort of a thing. I just always feel better. It's certainly true when you can get your physical being aligned with your mental being and your spiritual being. You give yourself so much of a great an opportunity to be able to feel better overall. And of course, what that also means is now the level of care that you're delivering most likely will also enhance, right? Your patience level will most certainly have the greatest opportunity of increasing. So, with that, I certainly implore you if, discover what that is for you. Once again, if reading does that for you, find a way to do that, right? Find a way to be able to get in a paragraph every day. If writing does that for you, find a way to get that in. If you can't, if it's just too cumbersome for you to be able to write that down on something, utilize your technology, right? Utilize that voice text in and whatever it is. If it's a walk through the house, if it's a walk around the house, if it's certainly if you get a chance to be able to on your way home, maybe from work, stopping by the park or something like that, just sitting out, just whatever it is. I mean, it's a level of the peace is what we're talking about here, and finding that level of sanctity for yourself. Um, for those of you, as I constantly meditate in terms of what the conversations will be, and as I think about each of us, as we talked about yesterday, that 48 million of us who are in these roles, I think about each of us. Also think about those who may be on the brink of transitioning into this life of family caregiving, into this life of caregiving. And in terms of where do you look, I know, in terms of my own personal journey, I didn't find a lot out there, family, in terms of assistance, of finding somewhere to turn to, right? You see a lot of taglines that you can click on, and then when you call or you communicate or contact some of those companies, you find out it's something totally different, right? Where it may have the title of caregiver, but then at the same time, what they're actually talking about is nursing care, nursing home care, and that sort of a thing. And that's not. I wasn't the least bit interested in that. Never was interested in that. It's just not something that I personally believe for me. and for my mother was ideal. Our level of confidence in the nursing care industry, was one thing, but for me, personally, I just, I don't know. I've always had to believe that at any point of when my mother, ever got to a stage to where she couldn't, safely take care of herself, that I would assume that role. That was something that, it was almost second nature for me, and so I understand that that's not the easiest transition for others, right? I mean, it's because there's a lot that goes into it. But once again, as I sought out for assistance, I sought out for resources in terms of information and that sort of a thing. I just I didn't find it, right. I never found that level of network, that level of of resources that provided me with some of the answers that I was looking for. And so I just want to encourage you, if you're on the brink of going into this level of living, that there are some resources out there. Certainly do your due diligence and check, with within your area, within your local market. There are certainly, what I've come to find out now in terms of government federal funding that goes to so many of the different states, as it pertains to elderly care. And so, whether or not you qualify for those benefits or not, I don't know. That's, it's going to be on an individual basis, but you can certainly start there. You have the organizations like the AARP that you can look into and see what resources they have as it pertains to if you're in a scenario whereby you need assistance, right? Where you need professional caregivers to come into your home. Unfortunately, the way it is now, those expenses are personal expenses out of your pocket, right? That's not something that Medicare or Medicaid pays for. That's been my experience. And so, if there are others who have different experiences with that, by all means, please share. But in terms of having a professional caregiver to come in and provide, to provide care, round the clock for your family member on a day-to-day basis, that is not something that is covered by, once again, Medicare or Medicaid. However, you do have some assistance in terms of with Medicaid, Medicare that will assist with what they call home health aid, right? Um, that's where a nurse would come in and check vitals, and even potentially you can get set up if your family member qualifies for it, or in terms of they need that level of help in terms of physical therapy. You can have where Medicaid, Medicare may pay for that. I'm saying both because I understand every situation is different, right? I understand that every scenario is different, and so everyone doesn't have, Medicare. Everyone doesn't have Medicaid, and so I'm just saying it as a blanket, right? But those are some resources there, that certainly you can provide or gain some sense of assistance. May not be all that you need, but certainly in some instances, every little bit helps, right? And so just wanted to share that with you. Also, there are programs. I know here in my state of Georgia, there's a program whereby you could even potentially qualify for being paid to assist with your caregiving, right? I mean, when we're talking about the high cost of living, across the board, that that certainly can place a strain on the family for sure, right? And particularly if you're in a scenario whereby, you yourself, um, let's say you're disabled and you're unable to go out and work, but you still have these, level of responsibilities and expenses that are coming in on you and the family. There are programs across the country. I mean, I think every state is different. Once again, here in Georgia, I know there's a program that if you qualify, but it's based off of, I don't think it's as much income based as it is net worth, or how should I say, resource based. In other words, if your family member that you're providing care for owns a home or owns land or owns real estate, what this particular program will do is they won't charge up front, but in the event, once that family member, um, you know, passes, once they transition, right, then what will happen is the government utilizes their resources, their home, their land, their real estate. They will seize those properties, those assets for payment. So, for me, I think that's kind of crappy, but for somebody out there that may help, that may benefit, right? That may work for them. I don't know. I'm just wanting to provide you with some sense of there are some things out here that based upon your own situation may benefit. So want to encourage you to look into that, because once again, there's no one blanket, one rule for everyone. Everyone's scenario is going to be different, and for some, a scenario like that may be okay, right? You may be able to work through the weeds on that, and if you can, be able to receive that income today to be able to get through, to get it, make it to tomorrow, that may be ideal for you. So, once again, I don't know how that works across the country, but from my limited understanding, that is more of a state to state type of a program. So, just wanted to share that with you. So, in any event, family, I'm not going to keep you long. I just wanted to be sure that I greeted you on this evening as we continue this series of caregiving, elderly caregiving, specifically as we focus on the caregiver, right? You, as we focus on that family member that's providing and giving up everything, in terms of to take on this role, I mean, full throttle, day in, day out. And so it has been a wonderful week. It's been a phenomenal week in terms of sharing and greeting each of you. And so, just as a reminder, once again, we will certainly be talking about a variety of topics here in the Doctor's Corner, but they're be coming straight from the heart. And so, this is something as we talk about caregiving will continually be a theme, on this channel. And so please share, please share any of your thoughts, any tips that anyone has in terms of figuring out whatever helps you to be able to get through the day or get through the week or get through the month. Hey, listen, share it. We love to know it, because the reality is this is a community whereby what we do every single day is, it's not something that's placed on a billboard. It's not something that most people even begin to understand. It's not even something that many people even care to understand until they find themselves in that moment where they have to make that decision, right? Of whether they're going to place their loved one in the hands of strangers, or ensure that their loved one is, taken care of correctly in their own space, in their own underneath their own roof. And so I get that. I understand that. And so, what I hope to do was to provide a space once again for those who specifically are already doing it, as well as a space for those who may be upon the cusp of assuming this role to be able to get a greater understanding of what's involved, to get a greater understanding that in reality, in many scenarios, depending upon the physical or medical nature of your caregiver, could very well equate to if you've ever had a child. For those of you who have had children, who've raised children from birth, or from an extremely young age, it's literally that level of responsibility, right? So that level of going out or hanging out with the guys or hanging out with the girls or whatever that scenario, right? Staying late at work, going in earlier at work, all of those different things, the dependent upon the scenario with your own particular caregiver, I'm sorry, your family member, a lot of that will change, right? A lot of that will change because some needs that level of round the clock care, even if that care just means, being with them, conversing with them, touching them, engaging with them to keep their minds occupied, to keep their spirits vibrant, right? To keep them from, just going over the cliff in terms of depression, right? And so that requires time. And so the best way I can equate it it's really is equivalent to raising a brand new baby. That same level of responsibility that you have then, of understanding that at every second you got to watch him. For many of us, I understand. This is, once again, this is not universal, right? Everyone's at many or at different stages. But for many of us, who particularly, when we talk about elder care, when we're talking about, our family members who are, 70 plus years of age, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95. I mean, that is a level where a lot of different things are happening in most scenarios, not in every scenario, but in most scenarios, that there are a lot of issues there that involve physical as well as neurological, and so with that, the more issues that present, the more care is needed. And so, regardless of whatever help you may have that you're bringing in professionally, it still boils all down to you. Because even with that, having that professional caregiver, you still have the responsibility of managing them to ensure that they're carrying out the duties and responsibilities that you need to have happen. So it's a lot, and it's not something for the weak. This is not something for someone who, you struggle with time management or being able to organize, whether it's your own personal day, the day for the family, the day for the caregiver. It's a lot that's involved, and it's a lot that you'll learn on the fly, because once again, depending upon the scenario with your own particular family member, there are things that may present every single day that's different. That's a challenge, and you got to be up for it, right? So, in any event, family, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully, someone will gain something out of this today, and if so, please share it. If so, please, if you would, hey, hit the thumbs up. Right, I would have loved and appreciate that as well. What I want to do is grow this channel. I want to be able to grow this community where, once again, it can be a place of resolve. It can be a place of comfort. It can be a place of information, a place of direction, a place where everyone will know that, once again, you're not in this world alone. And so, in any event, hope everyone has a phenomenal evening tonight. Hope this weekend will be great for you, and look forward to talking to you again from the doctor's corner. So until then, peace, be well.